And now we're going to be moving on to the first panel discussion of the day. Now, the UAE's vision to foster SMEs has transcended and culminated into a holistic composition which aims at entitling SMEs with endless possibilities. Now, the moderator for the first panel of the discussion will be Mr. Alexander Williams, Director of Business Development at the Department of Economic Development. Prior to this, Mr. Alexander Williams was Director of Strategy and Policy at Dubai SME. He has close to 25 years' experience in entrepreneurship, SME, and industry development, and his interests are focused on the life cycle dynamics of firm growth, mentoring entrepreneurs, and industry analytics. So please, ladies and gentlemen, moderator for the first panel, let's please welcome Mr. Alexander Williams to the stage to begin the session.
A very good morning to His Excellency Hani Hamli, dignitaries of the government. I'm very pleased to be here. This is my third summit, and I've seen the summit grown considerably. Conversations have changed every year from the good fundamentals to now the more advanced conversations. My experience in Singapore has taught me that there's a Singapore experience and there's a Dubai experience. I came to Dubai in 2008, just before the financial crisis. And when the financial crisis struck, I thought, oh my God, my job is gone. But lo and behold, what kept me alive was the tenacity and vision of His Highness and his team, which had the vision to succeed, and as well as the fact that the SMEs were the bedrock of Dubai SME. They are major suppliers of the corporate sector to the government, and I've seen spectacular success. Of course, there's also a lot of spectacular failures, but at the end of the day, this is the ecosystem, all right? The fittest survive, but nonetheless, the positive outcomes has been tremendous. This panel is going to discuss the Dubai Plan 2021, a very enriching plan which I had the honor of participating in Meydan. His Excellency in his office organized a panel in Meydan where we all grouped together, huddled together for 2 days to discuss executing the plan. And no plan will be complete if there's no inclusion of different stakeholders, from bankers to the SMEs, to the industries, to the government players. For this panel, we have a distinguished team assembled from different stakeholders' perspective. I'd like to invite you on stage in order. First of all, we have Dr. Abdul Aziz Isaitia. Is currently working as an economic advisor in the Strategy and Policy Division of the Executive Council, and he's responsible to advise and provide expert input to strategy and governance sector in the areas of strategy and performance development. Dr. Abdul Aziz, please. Next, we have Dr. Mohammad Trebelsi, a senior economist at the Dubai Economic Council and research associate of the Economic Research Forum, and he holds a PhD in economics and former professor of economics at Carthage University, Tunisia. And he has published recently a book on growth theory. His current research focuses on capital account reforms in developing economies. Dr. Trebelsi, please. Third on the panel, we have Satyajit Roy, or Satya Roy, who is an SME banking expert, and he's going to share with us about the new innovative ways of funding SMEs going forward. He has over 24 years of experience in retail and commercial banking with a particular focus on serving the SMEs and a strong track record in starting and developing businesses across geographies. Fourth, we have Majid Al-Suwaidi, Managing Director, Dubai Internet City and Dubai Outsource Zone. I've known Majid for a long time, and he is credited with bringing the TCOM to the next level, and I'm particularly fond of his development of In5 Innovation Center, which has become a household name in the MENA region, where all tech startups, the first part of call is In5. And he has developed the whole ecosystem around In5 for the tech startups. And if any of you want to start a tech startup, I think Majid is the person to go to. Next, we have someone representing the multinational sector. It's Shan Ok Nayan, Head of SMD Marketing, Google in the Middle East. Shan is also the founder and investor and chairman of the board of Glambox. So he wears two hats, a multinational hat and a startup hat. But I think today he's going to talk about the multinational role of Google in enabling the digital economy for the future of Dubai. Finally, last but not least, we have Shabana Karim, who is a successful entrepreneur, female entrepreneur, accomplished businesswoman. She's the owner and founder of House of Spa, a holding company comprising the nail spa. She started her business in 2002. She went through it all, the school of hard knocks, the joys, the tribulations, to be a very successful entrepreneur now. And she's going to share her story with us on how she has benefited from Dubai and how she's going to contribute to the future of the plan. Let's welcome her on stage. Before I let the panel do some of the short presentation, I just want to take a 2-minute take on the. Now, what is a plan? Basically, a plan is some kind of a vision, and to me, the key word is opportunity creation. I remembered when I was a young civil servant in Singapore, the first lesson I taught was how do we create the future? Singapore is a small city, we had nothing, and we had to plan for the future. The second thing I learned was never leave things to chance, because if you want things to happen in the future, you must make it happen, all right? So the second lesson I learned was make sure your resources, your budgets, and vision are aligned and you achieve it. And the Dubai Plan 2021, I think the key words is holistic and complementary, and it involves both the hard infrastructure and the soft infrastructure. In the audience, just try to see yourself, where do you fit in? And it has 6 pillars: the people, which is a city of happy, creative people. And I think you would know that some economies are actually trying to measure how GDP can also include happiness, the happiness index in societies. The second one is the society, an inclusive and cohesive society. The experience. What is the Dubai experience? It's a preferred place to live, work, and visit. I'm a geographer by training. I studied economic geography in school, and I'm always curious about cities of innovation, cities of growth. Different cities have a different role. If you look at the Global City Index, different cities have a different pecking order. Where is Dubai placed? Obviously, Dubai is a global city in the ranks of London, Hong Kong, Singapore, Los Angeles, New York. But every city has its own attraction magnet and attraction factor. What is the Dubai story moving forward? And then you have the place, a smart and sustainable city, a potential hub in the global economy, and a pioneering and excellent government. So Singapore celebrates its 50th anniversary this year. Dubai, UAE, will celebrate its 50th anniversary in 2021. And therefore, it is extremely timely that we discuss how we're going to reach there in 5 years' time. So without further delay, I'll just ask Dr. Abdul Aziz to give us a take on the SMEs in the vision of 2021. Abdul Aziz.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أصحاب المعالي الحضور الكرام السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Good morning everyone. A few years ago, 3 young ladies approached Dubai SMEs Corporation for support. They had an excellent idea. It wasn't the traditional idea of a abaya or cupcake business. It was a business of design. An excellent idea, 3 young ladies with a lot of aspiration, best friends of university and college, and they had a very positive look for the future. The corporation provided them with the support that they provide with all SMEs, including, to mention a few, incubation, access to finance, putting their business plan together, and managing their finances, putting their governance structure, and succession plan. The ladies took everything on board. They were very hardworking ladies, except one factor, that they thought it wasn't so important. It was the governance, roles and responsibilities, and succession plan. And they said, we're just yet starting. Let's roll out, see how our business will thrive, and we'll take it from there. A few years later, the business resulted to be extremely successful. They had a lot of profits, and the smallest insignificant factor of governance was unfortunately the reason for their death. The death of the company, not the ladies. The ladies are yet alive. The story of survival and death is a very interesting story that I would like to share with you today. Unfortunately, I cannot compete with the exciting drums exercise. However, what I'd like to do is probably to change the way we look at things. We usually meet in all of these events and discuss what is the government doing well, what we're not doing so well. We have a banker on board today. You can all criticize him for not giving you enough money for your SMEs, and the typical story. What I would like to propose today is to have a look at what you're not doing so well and how we can do it well. And here I would like to build on the speech that Her Acting Excellency, Shama bin Hamad, gave a few moments ago in the partnership that we're looking at to build together. As you all know, my agenda today will be a quick focus on the global highlights. Then I'm going to shed light on the SME's role in Dubai Plan 2021, and then I will conclude with some policy recommendations. As you all know, SME's contribution to country's economy is very important. However, it ranges. The more developed the economy, the highest the contribution is. As you can see from the chart, it could range from 16% in low-income countries up to 51% on average. The red line shows you where Dubai is, and later on we're going to focus more on that. Same story applies to employment. You contribute from 1/3 to 2/3 of employment, which shows a very important contribution to all countries' economies. We had all challenges with the international financial crisis. The crisis didn't spare anyone, neither SMEs. I chose for my examples different regions of the world because we cannot go through them all. If you look at the European Union, the impact of the crisis, as you can see from the graph, was a 7% drop in their contribution of GDP and 3% drop in their employment. What I'm more concerned about is not the impact itself, rather it's your recovery process. If you look at the employment graph, the green line indicates the employment of SMEs, and the red line, the employment of large companies. You are much better employers. Look at the slope of the line. You don't let go your employees quickly, even in hard times, and you tend to recover quickly. However, if you look at the second graph, on the right side, the GDP, the impact was the same on both large and small companies, but as always, because big companies had a lot of support, they can restructure quickly and adapt quickly, their value added usually recovers on a quicker pace. Whenever you mention SMEs to anyone and speak about obstacles, the first thing that comes into your mind is financing and the gap in the credit. It's estimated that there is almost $3.5 trillion credit gap globally. The darker the color on the global map indicates the severity of the credit gap. 60% of this gap is located mainly in developing and emerging markets. This is the list of what I'd like to call the usual suspects or conventional common aspects of obstacles that SMEs usually have. You all know about it, a difference from a region to another. It's financing, it's red tape, lack of demand, economic uncertainty, etc. But this is not what I'd like to discuss with you today. What I would like to discuss with you today is basically what the list that I prefer to call the unusual suspects. So basically, if you come to me and say, we have an issue with access to finance, I would say back, actually you're failing to track your finances. And we have seen so many cases of these. If you talk about red tape, I may talk about your inability, basically, to overcome this red tape. If you, I'm not going to go through the whole list because you have this available. I'm just going to take a few examples. If you, for example, talk about lack of demand and finding new customers, I may say you're being unable to change quickly, adapt, and use the new technologies. Example on that. On this chart that you're looking at, it shows you 3 years profitability in 8 countries globally. The green columns shows the profitability of all companies that have heavy engagement in web access, while the yellow columns indicate the same for companies with low or no web access. Look at the difference. It could be up to 20 or 30% of your profitability. And in the negative cases, like in the US, it may cause your death. Anyway, let me translate these into simple figures. When we talk about survival, I took the USA case. Let's imagine that today we have 100% companies. What is their survival rate after 5 years? After 5 years, 50% of the companies will go out of the market. Rest in peace. Actually, I did a mistake here. It's not rest in peace. It's rest in debt and misery, because this is what creditors will do to you, right? So, more interesting, if I go after 10 years, 2/3 of the company will go out of business. And this is a global fact. If I compare it to the UK, they have same thing. Of course, a difference from a region to another. Now you're saying to yourselves, the next slide is going to be about Dubai survival rate. Actually, you're right, but I kept it the last slide of my presentation so nobody can escape while I'm speaking, if you're interested to know the fact. A good news is you are in the right place to operate your SMEs. Based on ECCA report, the UAE, together with Singapore and the UK, has been identified as one of the best SMEs friendly places and environments globally on 2014 on several dimensions. So after just this quick presentation about the highlights, let's have a look at Dubai plan itself and where you will be, where are you positioned basically in that plan. As Alex just presented, we have 6 pillars. To make it very simple for you to remember, just remember 4 major themes. The first 2 columns, they focus on people and society. You are our target, and you are our first target. People live in cities, and this is why the second 2 pillars is the city, the place and the space. Infrastructure and hard infrastructure and soft infrastructure. The third pillar is government, and this is where SMEs are located in our plan. And the final pillar is the government as a supportive to all of these pillars and to make things happen and easier for you. So under this pillar, we have 3 themes. Across the plan, by the way, we have 20 aims in total. Under the economic pillar, we have 3 aims. The first one is a city that enjoys sustainable economic growth, and this is where SMEs are located. Then we have one of the world's leading business centers, and finally the FDI and the ease of doing business. And to achieve this goal, we are looking at sustainable economic growth. Under the sustainable economic growth, we have a lot of criteria to make sure that this sustainable economic growth is maintained. One of these criteria is SMEs, and we're measuring that by value added of SMEs growth and their share in total GDP. Just to give you a flavor of SMEs in Dubai, as you all know, they represent 95% of all businesses. They employ 42% of the total workforce, and they represent 40% of the GDP. 40% of GDP means 130 billion dirhams. Their growth in the last 5 years has been 16% compounded average, which is a good growth, especially taking into consideration the crisis impact. If you look at the registry of companies, and from